Well, greetings again, everyone. Hope you're all doing extremely well out there in this hopeful, happy holiday season. But let's see if this version of the video sticks this time, because I shot a version of this a couple days ago when circumstances were a little bit different, and then I went through a whole bunch of shit that changed the entire dynamic, and well, I have to start from scratch here. So basically, a lot of things went down trying to get a certain video that's now out on the channel as this is being released. And let's recap a couple of things. It's been a long month, a lot of different things. We got Commentaries out for The Batman, The Long Kiss Goodnight, and upcoming very shortly on Christmas Eve, will be P2, the Christmas Eve horror film that was produced by Alexander Aja. And me and Steve had a pretty good time with it. Nice breezy type of thing. It's up on Amazon Prime, it's up on Tubi, a couple different places. So if you haven't checked it out, zip through it pretty quickly and stuff like that, and then listen to our thoughts about it when it posts. But video-wise, producing on-camera stuff, one, I finished the numerous versions of Star Trek The Motion Picture, which was a very daunting task, because I took extra time off during Thanksgiving week, and I spent like every few minutes working on that thing. So even on the holiday, when I try to sit down and watch a movie, I got so disinterested, like half an hour in, I was planning to do a whole watch my Star Wars original trilogy Laserdisc run-through, just all in the one day. I got halfway into the first one, like, I'm not very interested. I'm not on it. I'm not on it at the time, so I just like, okay, I'm just going back to editing. So I just kept working on editing it. And I got it out and performed extremely well. Like over 1,000 views, lots of praise for it, a lot of good stuff, a lot of support for it. So I'm very happy that it turned out very, very well. And the video that just got posted was the one for Drive. Now, this is a video I've had in the works, had on the list for like years and years and years, like a long period of time. I've had some false starts getting it going, and then I finally committed to doing it this time, because I did grab the 4K Steelbook with the J card on here for you guys and everything like that, but properly. Steelbook is like this. It's the 4K one from Sony, which has a brand new featurette on it, plus the old legacy ones from the previous Blu-ray. And I had problems with YouTube's copyright system, their content ID stuff, because I went through like days of trying to get this fixed, because the problem was it kept grabbing all the different clips I was using from the film, like the Taken video last month. And unlike the Taken video, I was not willing to let this one go. I was not going to let that happen. And so I went through like a lot of stress, a lot of rigorous work to edit all the clips down over and over and over again until I got them down short enough where the Content ID system did not pick them up. So that finally happened Saturday night, and I released it Sunday, and you can watch that now. So I put a lot of work on it. When I thought it was done, then I had a whole bunch of other work to do on it after I thought it was done. And so that was a very stressful process, getting the whole thing up. When I have some downtime, I still have the entire thing for the Taken video intact. I might try dabbling and seeing what I can do with that still, but I'm not guaranteeing anything, because it's an entirely different process. It's a month ago. I want to look forward to try and get new stuff done, not revisit old stuff, but we'll see. If I just don't feel like shooting anything, but feel like editing something, maybe I'll dabble in that a little bit, see if it's possible. Because as an action film, you have certain like neat action sequences that kind of play out a little bit in terms of what I'm cutting to and stuff like that. With Drive, it's a little bit more, there's a lot more lingering shots, a lot more dramatic scenes, stuff like that. There's like longer shots and stuff like that, where I could probably cut it down easier instead of having a lot of fast cuts and stuff like that with the way Taken is put together. It might be a little more difficult, but I'm going to see if I can revisit that and try to do the same thing all over again, because I did a month later tried to re-upload the video and it still came out with the same process. So I just deleted that one and cut it off and whatnot. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if I have the time for it without nothing else to do, I feel like doing something, I'll see if I can address trying to fix that up and try to squeeze it into the parameters I have to now and stuff like that. So the Drive video is now out. I hope you guys very much watch it, enjoy it. If you do, put some likes on it, some comments on it, and share it around. So I very much appreciate that, because it's a little bit delayed from when I wanted to release it, and so it's kind of mushed in here. So I got that video out. I got this one coming out the next day, and the day after this is the P2 commentary. So it's all kind of smashed in together, which was not the plan. I plan to get that up on Patreon. I was going to have a channel update, then have like another day or two after that, I'd release the drive video, and then like another 2 or 3 days, release the commentary, but everything just got, unfortunately, smashed together in that regard. So that's where things are right now. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I had plans for certain things when things didn't get backed up and delayed or whatnot, because I've got a number of easy days off this week. I've got the 24th, 25th, the 26th off, and I figure I'm just going to, as I worked right through the Thanksgiving week and everything like that, I want to take some time to relax, decompress, watch some Christmas movies, stuff like that, and just enjoy myself instead of working myself. So, as we got this congested string of videos right now, it's good to let things a little bit decompress and have those breathe a little bit on the channel and see where things go from that. Because I did have a idea for another review video I might do after this. I'm not entirely certain if I'm doing that. I might just go right into work on the Terminator 2 home video history redux video and stuff like that. So I might talk about the other review I had planned later on, but I don't want to dwell on that too much. But as that is, we got what we're doing. We had things kind of jumbled around, shuffled around for next month in terms of the commentary slate, because we had the whole thing where I was going to do the 200th commentary for myself, and I had some titles battering around and stuff like that, and things kind of changed up in terms of what I was going to do. And so I settled on, not really settled on, I decided upon John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, because the entire thing for The Hitcher has been shifted off because of different plans I have for that. Things have kind of circled back around to where I can produce a full video on that with a little bit of something I'm going to talk about shortly here. But for the commentary that's going to happen right before that we're going to record right before that in January, we were going to do like a belated 50th anniversary one for the Towering Inferno. Now, I hadn't watched it after I grabbed the disc. I kind of let it sit around because I was busy with other things. And I lent it to Steve because he wanted to catch up on it, refresh and stuff like that. So he watched it and came in afterwards, after he watched it and came in and we did the commentary recordings for this month. And he told me, one, I didn't realize the film was as long as it was. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is surprising because I didn't think, like, in the 70s they were kind of going for that anymore. I felt like even though they're all the kind of grounded films, much less those kind of like elaborate sort of like 3-hour epic type of things anymore, I didn't think this film would be anywhere close to that length. Especially after you saw Poseidon Adventure, which I think was very concise, 2 hours. And so he said that, but also there was more the fact of, he was saying like the first hour of the film is a lot of build-up. It's like an entire hour before anything of real major consequence happens in terms of like the story really kicking in against some excitement, action, panic, stuff like that with the disaster film formula. It's a lot of building up the characters for a first hour, and I felt like for a commentary, it's a little dicey in that regard because we want to breed engagement. And when things really kind of kick in, with kind of the most discussion we have is like when the second act kicks in. That's when the plot gets going. A lot of things start moving the mechanics of the entire story here. And so I felt like maybe like an hour of us kind of mulling through a lot of dialogue scenes or character development stuff, but not a lot of things really kind of happening in terms of like special effects or different types of like plot turns and stuff like that. I didn't feel like it was the best idea for a commentary at this point in time. I did put the disc in. I was kind of looking at a little bit here and there. I kind of watched the first couple of minutes. I kind of skipped around, jumped around a little bit forward for the first hour to see where things were kind of progressing to a certain degree. And it very much was like 55 minutes in before like the fire really starts going anywhere out of control. And then there's still like another hour and 45 minutes of story after that. So with the things that we've done that are close to like 3 hours, they can be a little dicey, like I said, in a certain way. Just like sometimes, one, it seems like someone have a little bit of trouble getting a lot of people to click on it because they are so long. Like the Batman commentary kind of struggled to get up on views. It was very, very good commentary, but it feels like not a lot of people are looking to click on a commentary that is that long. I feel like there are some other ones we've done that are also kind of struggled here and there. So I feel like it might not be the best idea for us at this point in time. And I think Steve pretty much agreed on the entire point. So the title we decided to move up in that regard, because it was Steve's suggestion to do this, was Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, the Netflix sequel that came out 6 months ago. So I felt like, well, one, Big Trouble in Little China, action comedy stuff, a bunch of other stuff as well. Be a nice light pairing in that regard. A lot of laughs, a lot of exciting action, stuff like that, and they're here and there and everywhere. So I feel like it's a good tonal pairing together in that regard. And it's almost exactly 6 months after the film hit Netflix. So it feels like, okay, people have had time to watch it, maybe rewatch it, kind of give it a little bit of breather, and then probably come back to it at a point in time for us to do a commentary on. So it feels like a good point in time. We were kind of maybe randomly slotting in like right before Eddie's birthday in early April, but we kind of get a lot of things kind of bungling around April and stuff like that. So kind of nice to kind of, if we want to do it now, I think it's a good point in time, because even though we did the other ones with Trent, and he's not doing the commentaries anymore just because he's got a lot of things going on, like a lot of schedules type of stuff. We had a lot of problems trying to negotiate things with him at certain points of time, and whatnot in that regard. So it'll just be me and Steve, but it'll be a really good type of thing to have us discuss the entire thing, because we really very much like Axel F, with a few minor caveats here there, but I think it'll be a very engaging, fun commentary in that regard. So I think that's a really light pairing for January to kick off the year and get up to 200 commentary. Really good type of stuff. And John Carpenter's birthday is on the 16th of January. So depending on if we can get the commentary recorded early enough and slot things in as a release schedule, we might just about get the Big Trouble in Little China one out right around that point in time. We'll try to aim for it, but we haven't exactly negotiated our schedules to figure out where we're going to line to record early in the month, because Steve has his annual trip out to Jamaica in the second week of January. So we'll see how things kind of fall together in that regard, but look forward to that stuff in January. February, we're doing some Stephen King stuff that's a little bit offbeat. We're doing Creepshow 2, and we're doing Maximum Overdrive. Because so again, another one that's up on Tubi. I think it's also up on Prime, here and there and everywhere. So I can easily watch it and maybe grab a cheap DVD or something else like that to kind of do the commentary towards or whatnot. So it'll be pretty good. We're going to have some fun times with some stuff that's not the high echelon of stuff, but it's certainly going to be discussion worthy in that regard. So very much interesting in that regard. So that's what we got going for commentaries. And I'll move over the media pickups here. And I guess I'll just start off with the fact that I did grab the Warner Brothers 4K of The Hitcher, as we have here. Trying to get the light to hit. It's always tough to get the light to hit the little foil thing on the whole thing to get the thing to look right. Anyway, I grabbed it, and I haven't watched it yet because I'm just kind of waiting until I actually want to do the video. Because, like I said, I've talked with a friend, and we've kind of negotiated the fact that he has the Second Sight limited edition release. And since I've done a lot of stuff for him in that regard, kind of porting over bonus features and stuff like that for him to use in his videos, he's going to do the same for me on this one. So we're going to kind of do a lot of file transfer work in that regard, but we'll get it up in advance. So I'll let him know probably about 2 weeks or so in advance before I want to actually kind of get into it. And he'll probably get everything ripped and kind of start porting things over to me in that regard. But that way I can enjoy the whole thing without breaking the bank, and he's very much generous in that regard to help me out in this whole thing, so I can actually produce the video properly and get up on the whole thing. Because I was very much kind of batting things around. It's like, yeah, we can do the commentary, but again, Steve's not all that familiar with the film. I'd have to give him the disc, and this thing took way too long to get here. It was really tough, because it didn't get here until after we did the last commentary session, because it got hung up at the freaking Postal Service distribution center for like 12 days. Just went nowhere. We're just sitting there. I had to put it in a case file for them to move it somewhere and figure it out. So it wouldn't have worked out anyway for him to be able to borrow my disc and me actually watch it. It would have fallen out and whatnot. But I made that decision well ahead of there. I ordered this on Black Friday, and so off a deep discount with a coupon. So I got it for about $22, which isn't bad, because even their standard shipping is only like under like $2. So it wasn't bad to get that in regard. So it's better than the Amazon price and most other places. So nice everything in that regard. So don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe February. I don't know. I got some things planned for January, the Terminator 2 video, maybe one other thing. But we'll get to it eventually in that regard, so we can clear that off the commentary slate and reinstate it for proper review video in that regard. And some other stuff I grabbed recently. Another Amazon pickup I grabbed, because this went on sale for $18.99 for the 4K edition. And so I was kind of looking for it, because it was over $30. I was like, well, I didn't like the film that much. I would like to get it on a discount. So Beetlejuice came out on 4K. They knocked it down to $18.99. So I said, perfect, I'll grab it right now. And I haven't put the disc in or anything like that, but it's just the fact that I liked it well enough. It was just like it's a little uneven of a film. There's some elements I didn't like so much, but some things I absolutely adored. And so it was like I really wanted to get it. I really wanted to enjoy it all over again and stuff like that. And Keaton's great. Jenna Ortega's great. Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, all those people, fabulous. Willem Dafoe, great in the whole film. All these people, stellar cast in that regard. So it just had a lot of heart. I really much just enjoyed being with those characters. And so I was very much hot on getting this at the right price in relation to how much I thought of the entire film. So $18.99 for a 4K on a special deal, good type of thing in that regard. So, and I did kind of grab this because I had placed an order for that Ocean's Trilogy 4K set, but it was going to be kind of back ordered until after Christmas off of Amazon. And I had it on order for a little while, and I was kind of looking at some of the guys I follow up on Blue Sky, Thad, and then he was talking about he was watching Ocean's 13 in the 4K, and it's like a slather of DNR. Like it looked really bad. I started looking up, because like the professional reviewers all gave good marks, but I started looking up more stuff specifically about that film in the 4K edition, and there were a lot of people just talking about it's just been processed too much. It looks really bad. I felt like, nah, as much as I loved the first film, and I really liked watching 13 again earlier this year up on streaming, nah, I feel like, no, I'm going to cancel this. I'm not going to support something, even though they said that like the first two films looked really, really great. The third one, which I would definitely watch over the second one, and I felt dodgy about the whole thing. So I'm going to put that on ice. And so after that, this deal came up. I felt like, well, that's a good trade-off. It's a cheaper thing, and I liked it. I liked the film plenty. I wanted to grab it when there was a good deal on it, and so I canceled the other one and grabbed this one, and that was a good type of thing in that regard. So very happy in that regard. So I'll eventually get around to watching it, but anything like that. Another one that I was looking up, because with the Drive video, if you watch it already, you'll know about it. If you don't, if you haven't yet, there's a little bit of something, because there was a specific UK rescore done to the film, like a completely different soundtrack. And I was integrating a couple minor tidbits about other films that have had alternate scores. And one of them was Happy Birthday to Me, and because it got a different soundtrack applied to it when it went to DVD originally. And so that led me down a point where I looked it up. I knew the Kino Lorber release was out there, and I saw it was $14.99, and like, yeah, sure, whatever, grab it. Because it's got an interview with one of the actresses and a commentary with the co-screenwriter Timothy Bond with a moderator on the whole thing. So as much as I kind of wanted to get the Indicator series one because it has that alternate soundtrack as a separate audio option, this has like a fan commentary on nothing else really. So this has more stuff with people actually involved in the entire film. And so I felt like that was a better deal in that regard. And I think everything's the same transfer, but I'm sure Kino Lorber has a better bit rate than I had on the old Mill Creek set I had with, it was a double film disc or whatnot with When a Stranger Calls. And that thing cost $5 like fucking 8 years ago. And so another $15 on top of that, not a problem for this film. Really enjoy it. I really felt like it was good to grab up in that regard. And of course, got to slipcover the whole thing. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased on the whole thing. That's really good. And the last thing I have in terms of like discs and stuff like that was the fact that I had been looking to get this for a couple of years. Because a couple of years back on a Black Friday, when I had spent money on other things already and really wasn't kind of like, oh, I can't stretch myself that far, it was on sale for about $15, and it hasn't been that way since. And, you know, these days Black Friday isn't exactly what it used to be. You don't get as many deals, not as great of deals as some things it used to, because I feel like the retailers have kind of realized like this concentrated one-day type of sale thing where everyone goes into a frenzy and you're getting like negative margin on most of the damn electronics and stuff like that, and trying to push a few certain things that got a higher margin. I felt like it probably kind of woken up. It's like it's not been worth it the last couple of years. So they've backed off it. They decompressed the whole thing. The deals aren't quite as insane as they used to be, and not as plentiful as they used to be as well. So long story short, too late, I ended up grabbing the 4K of The Amazing Spider-Man and its unfortunate sequel. Because I already had this entire like digibook version, which all the fantastic bonus features and stuff like that, which I used for the video I did on the first film several years ago. And one of the things I noted in my review of The Amazing Spider-Man was the fact that because I think they shot it digitally, the film kind of looked a little flat in places, like in terms of like the contrast, the color grading and whatnot, it didn't quite pop as much. But once I started seeing comparisons to the 4K edition, it definitely looked like that was much more improved. And I can say for certain that I popped in this disc and looked at them like not side to side, but one after another, comparing the exact same scenes, and the contrast and quality and the colors look a lot more film-like, despite the fact that it's digital, but it feels a lot more, like it takes on much more filmic qualities in terms of the dynamic range, the contrast, stuff like that. It just looks a little bit more depth to everything in that regard. So it just looks stronger in that regard. And the fact is, you can buy Amazing Spider-Man 2 on its own in 4K. It can't do the same for the first film, at least not in the US. And I think there's some international ones that sell them separately, but it's always been the two ones. Like, I don't really need to have the second one in 4K, but I don't have any other choice. So the fact of the matter was, I sat around and I got this for 20 bucks on eBay. So I figured I've been sitting around for a couple of years waiting for this deal to come back around, and it's not coming back around. And it's only HDR10 in this whole thing, which is kind of a peculiar type of thing, because Sony's been doing a lot of those like steelbook reissues where they do everything in Dolby Vision now and give some other upgrades to the bonus features, stuff like that. Hasn't happened for this. I don't know what the case is, if it's not as hot of a seller, and I haven't really kind of pinned it down in that regard, but still, the HDR10 looked really, really good. I don't know if there's definitely Atmos on this release. I don't think the regular Blu-ray has. It looks like it's just DTS 5.1. So there's an Atmos track on this as well as HDR10 in that regard. So I do recommend it. It does look really good. Strong vibrance and contrast, stuff like that. Very much recommend it. So anything like that. So I still got my Amazing Spider-Man poster that I've had for ages and ages over there in the corner. And the only other stuff I grabbed up on Black Friday, because I was kind of really striking out on Amazon for anything in terms of like movies and stuff like that. So I ended up finding out that they had this was like buy 3 for the price of 2. And I think it was for like books, music, movies, stuff like that. But I decided to go into my comic book trade paperbacks wish list, and I grabbed up a couple things for some Nightwing stuff and some Batman stuff. So I grabbed up the next 2 volumes of the Tom Taylor run, which I absolutely loved. I loved that first Leaping into the Light volume. I sat down and read it straight through in one afternoon, which just like never happens. I adored it so much. It was so rich. It was so great with characterization, everything like that. So definitely grabbed the next 2 volumes. It was very, very good. I could have gotten the hardcover ones, but I figured like, well, I'll dial it back a little bit and just get the regular paperback versions. And also got Joshua Williamson's first volume of Batman and Robin, Father and Son, because this is the same guy who was doing the Superman run I liked so much, which was very much evocative of the old animated series. So I was very much, since I heard the announcement, I was like, okay, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to wait for the collected edition and grab that. So I haven't sat down and read any of this stuff, but as I'm going to try to take a couple of days off and catch up on stuff, I'm sure I'll read a little bit of this stuff as I go along and get some downtime and enjoy this stuff. So it's been sitting around for a month. I haven't read it yet. So that shows how much I've had myself backed up in terms of like doing a lot of stuff for the channel and having a lot of stuff sucking up my time in terms of my work schedule too. So thankfully things are decompressing for the week, and I can get back to just catching up on things that I very much enjoy in that regard. Now, I'll probably say I didn't pull it out or whatnot, but the other video I was kind of dabbling around to maybe have done before the end of the month, but I'm probably not going to do now, might still eventually happen, was kind of a under-recognized John Hughes film from the 80s. Was Some Kind of Wonderful. Eric Stoltz, Leah Thompson, stuff like that. Really, really good cast. It was kind of a redux of, I think it was Pretty in Pink, because there are certain things with that film where they had the studio alter the ending of the film, and they really wanted to kind of like do it the way they originally wanted to do it, and just kind of gender flip some of the roles and kind of redesign the film to a certain degree. and I really liked the film. I watched it, I think, on New Year's Day this past year, again, because I had it all on DVD before I upgraded to the Blu-ray Steelbook, and I really enjoyed it. It's been kind of on my mind here and there throughout the year about trying to find a place to put it in where I felt right about it. I kind of felt like I was about to kind of like do some much more darker stuff like the Angel Heart thing or the Machinist type of thing, but I felt like for Christmas time that doesn't feel like the right vibe for things. Even though none of the stuff is at all Christmassy in that regard, but I felt like something lighter, something more fun, romantic comedy, which is very much something I've never covered here in that regard, but I felt like it was something I wanted to do and kind of interested to do. I don't know if I'm still going to do it or when I'm going to actually do it is more the thing, but I was thinking about it. I grabbed up the, I don't know why I really decided I really wanted to grab the CD soundtrack, the whole thing, because I'm not in love with the soundtrack at all, but I felt like if I was going to do the video, I want to have the soundtrack to it officially, stuff like that. But the thing was, I kind of realized the soundtrack is just all the songs. There's no actual official score release. And I always really need to kind of have the score for the entire film. Now I found like a snippet or two on YouTube. I'd have to kind of feel out what I can do with it, because I need it for like, I'm doing the opening plot summary portion and talking about the soundtrack portion of the entire film. I kind of need that for stuff, because I really can't put like lyrical songs underneath it, because it kind of clashes when I'm doing the voiceover stuff and everything like that. So yeah, I'll see how it goes. I kind of have to jigger around with that thing, but it's a film I really like. I think it deserves attention, and I was kind of holding off on the Prophecy video because I wanted to talk about the first time Elias Koteas and Eric Stoltz worked together, because they worked together on this film, and Koteas is fantastic in this movie. He's incredibly funny, excellent. He's so damn good the whole thing. There's a lot of things I want to talk about in the entire film I think are very worthwhile, and the film is one of those, like, it doesn't really get the attention as the bigger ones, the Ferris Bueller's, the Breakfast Club stuff here and there and everything. A lot of the bigger ones kind of hit up on bigger levels in that regard, but I felt like this one really deserves attention to it and stuff like that. So it'll probably still happen. I just kind of figure out where it lands. So I really kind of have to start working on the Terminator 2 video, getting the rest of the captures done, and kind of get my research going and kind of grind myself back up to things. But that'll happen a little bit closer to New Year's when I start going for it. I'm going to just, like I said, take a few days and just not worry about that stuff. Let things breathe on the channel a little bit and kind of work myself up back to certain levels here. So that's good. So that's about all I have at this point in time. I was kind of working a couple weeks ago on that Vengeance screenplay I've had lurking around for ages or whatnot. Got some more progress done on it, but it was one of those things like I work on it really hard, I get really enveloped in it, then I kind of have to like break off and let it simmer down and kind of leave it to be or whatnot. So it's one of these things. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of creativity pumping through my head, and I have to let it kind of like, again, decompress out and circle back around to certain things. But I've made a lot of progress on reshaping the whole thing, bolstering out a couple of supporting characters, better defining them overall, fleshing them out, and working around with a second act, which I always felt was a real clunky mess. So there's a lot of things I've done on the whole thing that have really made it a stronger script in my regard in terms of where it's evolved over the years. And so, good thing in that regard. And I don't know exactly where things are going to land with the short film project just now, because I'm not in that mindset. But we're still trying to aim for somewhere like early spring to kind of put it in production. But that's probably going to take at least about a month or two to get everything put together in terms of location, crew, casting, stuff like that. So I kind of had to work myself out maybe in the next couple of weeks to see where I can divert my attention towards and kind of pull things back to a certain degree in terms of how much I'm really ambitious here, because I can't do working my regular job, doing all the same videos, and trying to shoot a movie. It's all too much. And trying to produce the movie in terms of like all the logistics have to go through me, set things up, schedule things out, pull all the people together. It's a lot of work. I can't keep doing everything. I don't have that much free time. So I got to figure out where things are going to land and kind of wrangle my ambitions back and forth between two different things and figure out where we're going to land in that regard. So anything like that. So I could have put this off until like after Christmas to see what I'm going to get as gifts and stuff like that and kind of integrate it into this whole thing. But I figure this is a good solid length in this type of thing. Usually these things are going about 45 minutes. This seems like it's going about half an hour this time, which is where we used to be with the channel updates. So it's kind of nice. Not that you can have it go on too damn long and keep it a little bit more compact in that regard. So anything like that. So as you're watching this, tomorrow we'll be posting the P2 commentary, and as you already know, the Drive video is out now. So guys, very much thanks for your support around here, watching all the videos, commenting, liking, sharing everything around. Subscribe if you haven't. Super thanks featured to contribute anything monetarily to the channel you want to, or you can support us over on Patreon to get early access to everything that we post here on the channel. So guys, thanks so much for checking things out, interacting, and sticking around, and enjoying our company for a certain point in time. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all the other great stuff. So Happy New Year, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.